ALF was an American sitcom that aired on NBC for 4 seasons, from 1986 to 1990. The show was unusual in many ways, from its strange premise to its technically demanding production. In addition, there was also a good deal of turmoil on the set as a result of tensions amongst the cast and crew and some other controversies. Join Trender as we take a look at how the ALF cast revealed troubling details of the show's production. ALF followed the adventures of its titular character, an alien who crashes on the planet Earth after his home planet is destroyed. Upon arrival to Earth, ALF takes up with the Tanner family, a traditional American family. Despite ALF's many idiosyncrasies, the Tanner family slowly begins to warm up to the strange creature. Similarly, audiences around the world began to adore the strange alien, and the show became a modest TV phenomenon. Despite the success, it has been revealed since the show's end that production didn't always go as smoothly as it could. And the technically demanding nature of ALF's puppetry made it so that even the best days were still a chore. The father of the Tanner family was played by actor Max Wright. With a background in theater, Max took the job on ALF for the money. Pretty soon, Max began to grow to resent both the show and its titular character. Max expressed he had qualms about playing second fiddle to a puppet, and he felt the show wasn't quite worthy of his dramatic talents. When it came time for Max to film his final scene for the show, he left as soon as it was done without saying goodbye to anyone. Despite Max's negative experience on ALF, he continued working in TV. After the show, Max could be seen on shows like Friends and Mad About You. The production staff has always expressed that Max acted professionally and is responsible for a good deal of the show's chemistry. Max passed away in June of 2019 after fighting a long cancer battle. The actor had first been diagnosed in 1995. Max Wright certainly wasn't the only member of ALF's cast and crew who had difficulties with production. Others have also expressed their ire with the show's unusually difficult production, including Anne Shadeen. Anne played the mother of the Tanner family, and she's always been candid about how difficult working with the ALF puppet was. Working with a puppet will always be a lot different than working with another actor, and can often require a much greater amount of patience. According to Anne, it often took as many as 30 hours to film a single episode of ALF, something that became very strenuous for the show's expansive cast and crew. In addition to it simply being time-consuming, it was also technically trying. Filming the puppet right required extra equipment that made the set of the show unusually hot. Combined with the increased work hours, this began to drive the cast and crew insane. The set was also far from normal, having been built with puppet performance in mind. This meant the set was filled with trenches that ALF's puppeteer and series co-creator Paul Fusco could sit in while performing. Many may imagine that Paul had it worse than anyone else, having to constantly perform as ALF throughout most of the show's scene. However, Paul has never complained much about the difficult technical aspects of the production. According to him, they did as good of a job as they could, and there was likely no way they could have filmed the show more quickly or more efficiently. And he's always been adamant that his cast and crew were paid well for the extra work they were having to do, in comparison to the production of a typical sitcom. Despite these strenuous aspects of ALF's production, the show played well with TV audiences. The final product proved effective, however much pain and struggle went into it. The show was incredibly popular, and its legacy has had a good deal of longevity. There have been talks about an ALF reboot for the past decade, whether in the form of a new show or a new movie. Although nothing has been finalized, there's a good chance the world will be seeing more of ALF in the near future. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like, and subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. There were numerous other issues occurring in and around the production of ALF that had little to do with the show's demanding technical aspects. One member of the Tanner family was the young daughter played by Andrea Elson. When the show first started, Andrea was a skinny little girl. However, she began to develop as the show went on. Although the development was the same kind of healthy growth that all girls are supposed to go through, the increased attention of the TV audience began to make Andrea grow increasingly self-conscious. According to her, she wanted to remain the little girl that TV audiences had fallen in love with, and not grow into a young woman. As a result, she began to suffer from bulimia. In an effort to keep the skinny figure she'd had as a child, she developed the eating disorder. And the disorder stayed with her after ALF came to an end. Andrea has expressed she didn't overcome her eating disorder until nearly 10 years after ALF aired its final episode. According to her, becoming pregnant in the late 1990s is what gave her the courage to finally kiss her negative self-image goodbye. After Andrea's role on ALF came to an end, she appeared in numerous other sitcoms in a diminished capacity. These shows include Mad About You and The Young and the Restless. However, she has since given up her Hollywood career in an effort to focus on a new passion. She's a practicing yoga instructor. Ben Hertzberg played the youngest member of the family, and he has expressed he didn't personally experience any of the turmoil his co-stars did. However, he does recall feeling the set was oftentimes a little too hot. ALF has been the subject of many other controversies both during the course of its production and since the show came to an end. Many years after it ended, a blooper tape was released that revealed Paul Fusco making some rather inappropriate remarks while performing as the show's titular character. These included sexually suggestive comments as well as racial slurs. However, all those who have been questioned about the blooper tape have brushed it off, saying the remarks Paul made on the tape were simply a byproduct of a different era that wasn't focused on political correctness. According to series associate producer Steve Lamar, anyone offended by the ALF blooper tape needs to, quote, lighten up already. The character of ALF didn't only get in trouble for things he said and did in bloopers. There were a few aspects of the character's personality on the show that caused controversy, including his propensity for drinking beers and eating cats. ALF claimed cats were a delicacy on his home planet and was always trying to eat the family's cat. Sadly, this behavior caused one young ALF fan to emulate the alien's behavior and injure his own cat. Once this happened, the writers were forced to change ALF's attitude towards cats before the series was over. His beer drinking was a character attribute that the writers were always adamant about keeping, but it was another issue that caused many to view the character as potentially a bad role model for children. The show's writers were no strangers to substance abuse, with series writer Jerry Stahl having been very upfront about his battles with addiction over the course of his life. Jerry turned his life story into a memoir called Permanent Midnight, and that memoir was adapted into a feature film starring Ben Stiller. Although the film wasn't allowed to use ALF's name due to rights issues, an ALF puppet does make a cameo. ALF's propensity for eating cats wasn't the only behavior on the show that influenced members of the audience to do something they shouldn't. On one episode, ALF could be seen bringing an electric mixer into the bathtub in an effort to create a home spa. As one might imagine, things don't quite turn out as ALF wanted. Instead of getting a home spa, ALF gets electrocuted. The rest of the episode follows ALF dealing with amnesia caused by the electrocution, all for comedic effect. But this inspired a real-life incident that was a tragedy. After seeing ALF bring a mixer into the bathtub, one child watching the show decided they wanted to do the same. The child died, and the scene was removed from all future airings of the episode. Now it's time to hear from you. Comment down below to share your favorite moment from ALF's 4 seasons, or its TV movie finale, or if you were surprised to learn the production of the show was so difficult. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.